I'll wait until I get a trickle of people in here. When you do come inside, let me know if you can hear me. In the meantime, I'll just be putting this up. If you're just tuning in, let me know if you can hear me. Am I too loud? Am I too close? All right. So, why do I have this as the thumbnail? Why do I have this overlaying me in front of me? You'll continue to write our obituary. Who cares? We have 16 games. You buried us in May. Bury us again. We don't care. We'll get back to work. Now, he's been getting a lot of backlash for this conversation that he's about to start. He's going back to the media, right? And we understand that there's been a lot of change recently. Well, I'm here to say there's one change that still needs to happen. There's one change that still needs to happen. And where does that change stem from? Right? Because there's been a lot of different changes that have occurred. We've changed general managers. We've changed head coaches. We've changed quarterbacks. We've changed players. We've changed uniforms. We've changed stadiums. And yet this lingers through all of that. There's been something that's rung true for a long time. And I'm not talking about our performance on the field. What could I be referring to? That is the question. And I'm going to give you the answer. Now, I don't have a whole lot of people here now. But the main culprit is the fan base. See, I've paid attention to how this team gets treated before a win, during the game, or before the game, during the game, after the game. Win, lose, draw. There's the same feeling that's lingered. And if you're just tuning in, yep, I can see you. Kale, Rip, I can see you that you're here. More people tuning in, all the same, welcome. Because this is the first time I get to act as an actual professor this time. Because there's an uncomfortable conversation that needs to be discussed. And you can keep pointing the finger at other people. You can point the finger at the coaches. You can point the finger at the players. But there's one thing that's remained the same. No matter how many cycles of players and no matter how many cycles of coaches that we keep going through, who's still here? It's us. It's you and I. It's this entire mentality. And when does it stem? I'm going to give you this question. When do you think this stemmed? Because I'll give you a hint. It was actually before Super Bowl 51. This fan base has had a yucky feeling inside of its stomach for a long time, and it's before the Super Bowl. When do you think I'm referring to? Once I start getting more answers in, I can show you guys the answer. The fan base has had a negative feeling inside themselves even before the Super Bowl. You're getting closer. I'd say it was before Matt Ryan, but definitely 2012. You'd actually, well, here's the thing. Because I saw this article from 2011. Let me show you what it says. Atlanta is a baseball city, not a football city. Even the University of Georgia often draws more fans than the Atlanta Falcons. The fans have been pretty loud when the team is winning, but the loss of Michael Vick after the 2006 season weakened the fan base. This was from 2011. So that means that Matt Ryan was there. Julio Jones was there. Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez, Michael Turner, John Abraham, the entire defense, the coaching staff at the time, the success was there. So why do we still have the same feeling? Was it just simply because a certain person left? Was it how they left? We can think of this in different ways. But the thing is, I'm not trying to blame this on Vic. All right? People need to get over Mike Vick, and I think that there's still some truth to that. We were better off without him. We wouldn't know that for sure until Matt Ryan came. Because we definitely had the 2007 season. Fan base turned their back on the team. We can change everything that you want. But we still have the same problems, don't we? Okay, and I'll give you a comparison. Okay? I'm going to give you a comparison. They used to probably have the worst fans in the NFL, even coining the term Aints during the franchise's poorest run in the 1970s. There were even rumors that the franchise might be moving out of New Orleans. But then Hurricane Katrina hit, and the fans united like no fan bases ever before. The team led the NFL in merchandise sales in 2009, despite never having finished in the top 10. The Dome is now one of the loudest, most electrifying stadiums in the NFL. I want you to find out where, but most importantly, why this string of letters still rings true to not just this team, but also to ours. Where's the correlation here? Anyone tell? There's something in these sentences that shows something that we haven't had for us. Who wants to provide an answer? Bingo. The fans have united like no fan base has ever before. Where's that with us? Okay? This team has tragedy around tragedy around tragedy around tragedy afterwards. This entire team is surrounded by tragedy. But instead of building from that, instead of uniting against it, this has been one of the most divided fan bases in all of sports. And on all of any kind of fan base you can actually have. Okay? This goes beyond sports at this point. Because I've seen other media get all sorts of controversy around it. But nothing is as weird, nothing rings as toxic as this fan base does after any sort of loss. Okay? And to Rip's point, the players and coaches feed off of the energy of the fans. You go back to that game, right? I know it's going to ring, it's going to hurt, right? It's going to give you that weird, icky feeling in your stomach. You don't even have to watch, but I just want you to do something. I just want you to listen to the fourth quarter. listen to the game. All right? You can ignore the commentary. You can ignore what's happening on the field. You can ignore all that. But I just want you to listen to what was and what wasn't being supported. Remember, at the very start of the game, at the very start of the quarter, we had the lead. But who really felt in charge? It certainly wasn't the people in the crowd, because when I saw that we were on a 3rd and 6, we were on a 3rd and 3, who was screaming louder? It was our opponent's fans in our own stadium that were screaming louder for them than we were against them. You can hear the difference. The fans, they were just hesitant. They were pausing as if they needed to feel a certain way from the results of the game instead of actually having a cause and effect. Okay, because whether or not we want to admit that we choked, the fact of the matter is that is an effect. Okay? The loss is the effect, but what is the cause? We can keep pointing the finger. We can keep pointing the finger. But we need to have this uncomfortable conversation about each other. All right? I've seen it even in the private discussions. And chit chats between Falcons fans that have been loyal for long periods of time. They still have the same icky feeling. And that's the most pathetic part. That's the one thing that I took away from this game most importantly. Because I can trust the coaches. I can trust the players after this game. They performed better than I was expecting. All right? And some of you guys will already know me as the one that's just obliviously optimistic, it seems. They did better than what I was thinking. All right? 4 sacks? How many people were thinking that high of a number? 200 yards rushing against the team that didn't allow a single 100-yard rusher for over a season? But what's the true takeaway here? When it got to the fourth quarter, who actually stopped performing? Because I saw in the clutch moments, Marcus Mariota was still getting third downs, was still, as much as he got blamed, as much as he got a lot of flack for it, sometimes rightfully so. We can take a look at this change that should have happened, this change that didn't need to happen. We can go to adjustments. We can go to play calls. But that all stems off of the energy that is in the fan, that is in the crowd. When you start feeling around and the quarter changes and that you've had this momentum, you've had the lead this entire time, but then it got to the fourth quarter and people are starting to really having that pit in their stomach and being like, oh my God, here we go again. They didn't even score, okay, at the time. They didn't even score. And people were already having the feeling that the game was lost. Okay, I was watching the game with VF Baller from First and Framemates. I was watching the game with Bubba Gump in the Discord. And I knew that once it got to a point where it was 26-10, and it could have been 30-10, there was already regret. When Bryan Edwards dropped the pass, I recognized that there was a certain amount of regret. Being like, oh, well, we should have done this, and we should have done this, and then it started trickling. And again, we've had this feeling since before the Super Bowl, but we just don't want to admit it. And I'm here to point it out because I had the same feeling. Okay? You can blame me for all you want for not being the one to teach you guys properly before this, not preparing the fan base before this. But I'm still putting my name, face, and image out here on live YouTube to show you that I still feel confident in this team. There's only a few plays that needed to be changed, people. They still give us the chance to win the game with 2 seconds left. This team was highly touted, often found in top 10s of the power rankings that other people have put. While we were 31st, 32nd, bottom feeders. And if you're a Saints fan, how worried should you be knowing that we often were considered the worst team in the NFL and that we had an upper edge on you for the majority of the game? And it's pathetic that it's come to this. Coleman, I was kind of looking in the chat as well. Around the middle of the third, this dude Jermaine comes in the chat saying, "No, we better hang on to this." Exactly. But who really feels that way? Very small percentage of the people that feel that way are here. If someone has to be the one to point it out, I'll do it. I'll keep the same energy across the entire season. Because I know that game had no business being as close as it did. Okay? You can continue to point the finger, be like, well, Marcus Mariota didn't do this. Well, AJ Terrell should have did this. Well, DMP should have. Well, Arthur Smith should have. Well, our kicker should have. You can keep pointing the finger. You can keep changing the coaches. You can keep changing the general managers. You can keep changing the players. You can keep changing the uniforms. You can keep changing the stadiums. But as long as we have the same lingering feeling inside of all of us whenever we have a lead in the game, if we don't feel good about ourselves when we win, and we feel better about ourselves when we lose, and it feels like that's the better expectation to have, well, that's a problem now, isn't it? Okay? Take a look at this. Take a look at those jerseys. Look at the stadium. That's not a recent photo. Which means that this wasn't even made recently. Okay, so why is this still true? Since the year 2000, the city of Atlanta, Georgia has increased its population by 17.8%. Have just under 500,000 people in attendance in the population of Georgia at the moment. It's actually decreased since last year. There may be some reasons for that, but when you go to the year 2000 and you jump to the year 2010 in the consensus, there's actually a decrease in numbers of the people in populations. And you would think that would actually be the opposite, right? Knowing how successful the Falcons were at one stage in the 2000s, but there would actually be more people wanting to go see the city. It actually had an opposite effect by the end of the decade. But then it got back. It went back up. Could have been a result of other things. But I know that when I take a look around at the other sports teams, Braves fans don't have that feeling about their team. They don't have that yucky feeling about them. Okay, maybe they've done in the 90s. But that hasn't been recently. As a matter of fact, they just won the World Series. Okay, Georgia fans, you guys don't have that feeling about your team whenever you're up. You just won the national championship. Hawks fans, they don't have that feeling. You can go to literally any other team in the city. They don't have that feeling about this team. Okay? Nick Coleman talks about not losing. You know when I started to feel that? That this team really carried that? In the early 2010s. 2013, 2014, that's when Mike Smith was fired. We played conservative at the moment. We didn't really talk all that good of a game at that time either. Just come fresh off an NFC Championship appearance since 2004. And yet it seems like amongst the crowd, we didn't have a leg to stand on. We're right back to the same old ways. That was the time they had to fake the noise. And they were caught because it was louder than the actual people in the attendance. Never seen another team do that. Okay? And again, we can talk about the mentality of the team, but I've already showed you. Written right here in the thumbnail. I've seen this, okay? But I've also seen this being said about us as well. Let's read this. It should be obvious that no individual would choose that lifestyle to be a Falcons fan. Falcons fans are constantly disappointed that the team is made fun of around the city, around the country, especially in New Orleans. So it just doesn't make any sense that any individual would choose the lifestyle. Now, how does that make us feel? You know who this was written by? That nobody would choose the lifestyle to be a Falcons fan. I did. Other people had. You can say this was D-Led. This is actually one of the Saints reporters. This was before our game against them last year when we faced them in New Orleans. This is what they had to say about us at that time. And it's a shame. Because people will read this article. They will look around and be like, yeah, I agree. Why would you want to be a Falcons fan, huh? That question, and the way it's asked already, just reeks of negativity. And it's sickening. It's sickening to see the other loyal fans that go there, not even having to question whether or not they should go. Okay, because I've seen that before. It's like, hey, should I even go to this game? I know I'm a fan of the Falcons, but should I even try to go to a Falcons fan? But should I even try to go to a Falcons game? That's the mindset you want to have, really? If I was a fan of any other team, absolutely I would want to go to the one of games and support them. Heck, even if I wasn't a team and I had the chance to go. Just to know what the experience is like. It's ridiculous. We have people doubting whether or not they should go to a game. And these are the same people that will point the finger at everyone else and be like, no, this is everyone else's problem. I have nothing to do with it. I'm just born in Atlanta. This team doesn't affect me. I just do this if I have Sundays off. I have a season pass ticket that I keep selling to other fans. Because I'm going to tell you, that crowd was one of the largest that it's been in a while. But it wasn't for the right reason. Again, you go back and you hear the game. You listen to that game. You don't have to watch it. If it hurts too much, you don't have to watch it. But just know that you can still hear the pain. You can still hear the tragedy in the stadium. Okay? Just like Rip said in his stream, this team isn't cursed. Where would you get that idea from? It's the team around it that constantly curses at it, telling them this isn't good enough. What did DMP say? You don't ever want to have a student call it. You don't ever want to have a teacher call their own student stupid. You don't tell your family that. You don't tell your son that, your daughter that. You don't want to tell your own children that if you were of the authority to make a statement like that. No, you work with them. You unite with your weaker link in order to make them stronger. But what do we see? What do we see happening across the board? Just a bunch of people attacking it. The media is attacking the own team. And therefore, the team attacks the media back. And then the media's like, whoa. That's not how you should act. That's not how you should speak. Don't you realize that you guys are the ones that lost, not us as the media? Even though I've been spewing out a bunch of negativity for this entire season before it even happened? No. That's not how you should act. The media is pointing the finger. Arthur Smith was the first one to be like, hey, I'll let you know. This loss is on me. Okay? But we're going to work towards it. We're not going to let this happen to us again. And you know what? I believe him. You think I'm going to believe the media instead of the actual person in charge? You don't think DMPs with 50 years of coaching experience is just going to shrivel up for the next 16 games in a row? You just got to remember we're 0-1, people. A lot of people expected us to lose this game anyway, so what's the problem? A lot of the people complaining on Twitter, complaining on social media, they expected us to lose and they still complain about it. You got what you wanted. So why the hostility towards you? Where's all that coming from? You're going to talk about the team as if you can't be responsible for it. You're going to talk about implementing change when you realize that we're the ones that need changing. And again, I'll include myself in here. Okay? When I started this stream last year, when I started having Mike and Maggie, when they gave me this platform, I didn't know who I was at the time in comparison to everyone else. Okay, this is feedback from you to me back to you. And vice versa. All right? We're constantly learning about each other here. It's been a whole evaluation process since last year. And I still feel the same way. Why don't we have the team? Why don't we have the people around the team that's necessary for a winning season? We've talked about the pieces. Heck, a lot of us was talking smack about the other Aints fans, about our team that we played with, that we lost with, and now we no longer feel that same way. We were praising Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith, Dean Pease, Dave Ragone, Marquise Williams. We were praising Marcus Mariota, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, AJ Terrell, Grady Jarrett, and the like. We were boasting about this team. Not 24 hours ago. And now you want to go back. Go back to how you really feel inside. Go back to that disgusting feeling in your stomach. And if you don't want to have any sort of change involved, then this isn't your fight to begin with. If you don't think you should be the one that changes, then now we understand who we should and shouldn't listen to. Arthur Smith has every right to feel as if they're just writing his obituary already. Because it's true. He saw that coming from a mile away. The media didn't like that they were already called out before they even put anything out. But guess what they're going to do? They're going to write his obituary. They're going to call for his name. Call for him to be out of here. They're going to call for Dean Pease to be out of here. They're going to call for Casey Hayward to be cut. They're going to be calling for Marcus Mariota to be benched. They're going to call for all these things to happen. Assuming that they can't be the ones to change as well. And it's ridiculous. Again, we can try to implement change all we want, but it starts with us. Got to go back to the dogs barking. But I don't feel disappointed. Again, they performed way better than I was thinking. Again, 4 sacks, 200 yards rushing against the team that supposedly had the best run defense. That's a statement right there. We already got a good percentage of our sacks that we did the entire last season. That's an improvement. Who's our next opponent? Oh, yeah, the team that gave up 7 sacks to a team that didn't even blitz against them. To a quarterback that led the league in interceptions last year, or at least tied for it. Against a team that deflated in the second half. How funny is that? But yeah, go ahead. We're 0-17, right? 2-15, worst roster in the league. But then you look around. Why don't you see that Baker Mayfield had a terrible game? Why don't you see that Joe Burrow threw 4 picks against the Steelers? Why don't you see that there's been other teams that were disappointing this season? Don't you realize that this is not even overreaction Monday? Oh, the storylines that will come out tomorrow. All the narratives, right? But what are we doing? Complaining about the same thing? Or do you want to be just like our team and just get back to work? All right, we have the Rams next. We have some positives to take away from this game. We have some negatives to take away from this game. Okay. We didn't even let up a sack. I didn't even know that stat. Yep. Tyler Algier being inactive, I think it's too early for a guy like me to have that kind of information. Are the prevent defense? Well, they started feeling the same energy that was being poured at them. That's all I got to say about it, right? They were hesitant and they were like, whoa, just don't lose this game. Just don't lose the game. Just don't lose the game. That's how I can equate it. Just like what was said before, we've had the mentality about like not wanting to lose. But I want to win. Don't you? Don't you want to see the team succeed? Don't you want to see the building blocks that it takes to get there? Don't you want to see the San Diego supporting a team that wins? We can question the mentality. We can question all the mistakes that we can. But there's a cause and effect. We're seeing the effect, so what's the cause? That's the main takeaway that I have for the game. All right. Until proven otherwise, we can kind of go back to some other football discussions. But here's the thing. How would that matter for a person like me if I know that the same people that are going to tune in are going to shrivel back up and be like, yeah, we'll see. This is why I think that the team sucks and yada, yada, and this is why that I'm the better decision maker than the people that are in charge. There's 16 other games to go after this. This only makes us 0-1. We have another game right afterwards that we have to face them in New Orleans as well. Okay? There should have been a statement win, but the statement was made. The statement definitely was made. Was it the statement that you were expecting? No, but it's a statement that you needed. All right? You know who you are. Look within yourself. Figure out who you are and what you mean to the team. That's my homework assignment. I'm going to do the same. I got to figure out who we are to each other. I've been gifting this kind of platform. I've been trying to gift it to other people. But maybe we just weren't prepared enough, huh? Maybe we weren't leading you guys in the right direction. Maybe. All right, if I'm going to try to blame the fan base, I got to include myself. I'm in the fan base that, that we so-called hate. So are each and every one of you guys. We're in this fan base. We got to do whatever is responsible to change it. Because I did a Google search. You Google Falcons fans, there's more memes that come up than actual fans. Memes against us. You have Google questions saying like, hey, how loyal are the Falcons fans? They didn't answer the question. General sports media articles didn't answer the question. Current people in the media, popular names, all right? We're talking about guys like Pat McAfee. They can look across the board, have all sorts of outlets for social media. All this access, all the resources that are given to guys like them. What do they think about our team? Well, I don't know. I just followed the advice about other people. I don't have an opinion on the team. I don't have an opinion on the Falcons. Why? Aren't you involved in NFL media? So why is it just a schmuck from California like me able to do your job better? When it comes to coverage, when it comes to rallying around the community. We're not to be messed with. We as a team, we're not to be messed with. And our energy as the fan base needs to reflect that. I know what my starting point is. How about y'all? And that's my main takeaway from the day until proven otherwise. You can share this with folks. Do whatever you need to do. But if you're just tuning in, Coach, I just went on a whole 43-minute long rant. You have a lot of catching up to do. But appreciate your stream. Appreciate what you do. And Dean Pease is right. We got to change the culture of this freaking place. And it's no one else's responsibility but ours. So, that's my takeaway. I'm out of here.